Hey, welcome back to the Big Ranch Show. As always, thank you for joining me. If you could, hit that subscribe button down below and let's get right to it. Now, Friday was the funeral for former First Lady Barbara Bush. Of course, a lot of people were there, including President Obama and the other three of the other living presidents, and a lot of other, famous people were there and things like that. It was a very nice ceremony I guess a good farewell to such an iconic first lady and somebody that really did a lot of work for literacy and other things around the country. Now, I've seen a lot of bad things said about Barbara Bush because of what her, different things here and there between her husband and son as president. But you can't really hate her for something that somebody else did. You're not going to just divorce your husband because he did something that you didn't like. Because he did made a policy blunder or something. You're not going to hate your son because of some policy that he made as president. But that's not really what this is about. Here's my problem. As I mentioned, the four living presidents were the four former living presidents were there, and Melania Trump was there. And a lot of people lost their minds because Donald Trump did not go to this funeral. Now, I do think it was kind of odd that he would go play golf instead of, maybe staying back at the White House, show a little mourning or whatever. But I'm not going to hate on him for not going to the funeral. A lot of people are like, why didn't he go to the funeral? Why? Why wouldn't he go? So disrespectful. I was seeing that all over Facebook, all over different social medias, and I even saw it on some newscasts. So people talk about how disrespectful he was being to Barbara Bush and the Bush family. But the guy can't win for losing. If you've watched this channel at all, I have no love for Donald Trump. I don't like hardly anything he's done. There's only like maybe one or two things he's done that I've had any support for. But if the man had gone, people would have been like, oh, look at that. Donald Trump trying to make the funeral of Barbara Bush all about him. That would have been the headline. And if he doesn't go, there on the other end of it, oh, look at that. He's so disrespectful to the Bush family. And it's total BS. If the man had gone, if the man had taken the time to go to this funeral, one, he would have been berated by the folks on the left for making it all about himself. All sorts of protesters would have showed up, and that's the last thing we need. The former First Lady did not need to face protesters because Donald Trump came to her funeral. The fact is, I think Donald Trump made the right decision. By staying out away from the funeral, I think he did the right thing. I think it actually showed more respect than him showing up because he would have taken away him being there in the media circus it would have caused and the protesters and just the mess it would have caused would have actually taken away from the celebration of life of Barbara Bush. Whether you liked her or not, Barbara Bush was, from all accounts, was a good woman, a good person who cared about other people. And her send-off did not need to be marred by people protesting and mad because Donald J. Trump showed up to her funeral. So I think Donald Trump staying away from the funeral was a great thing. And I'm not going to hate on him for not going. I'm not going to even hate on him for playing golf. It doesn't make sense to be mad at him for electing not to go somewhere where he would have made things worse. At the end of the day, Melania was there, and that means the Trump family was represented, and so I don't see the problem. I don't see why people on the left are losing their mind about it, because Donald Trump wasn't president. Say Hillary Clinton was president. Barbara Bush had passed away. Most of the people on the left wouldn't have given two shits on whether or not somebody was at the funeral, nor would they have cared that there was a funeral going on in the first place. I don't like Donald Trump. This is very, it's very clear. You can go back and watch any of my videos and you can tell that I do not like Donald Trump. But I'm not going to sit here and lie about the man or make up fake stories about the man. He does enough on his own. He doesn't need my help. But it doesn't make any damn sense. The man just didn't go to a funeral, so not cause a circus around the funeral. And people are mad at him for that. So you're not going to see that here. I'm not going to be all mad about Donald Trump, not going to this funeral. I mean, at this day and age, you don't necessarily have to be somewhere to see something. Whether or not he was playing golf or not, that's not the point. It was carried live via Facebook and social media. It was on some television stations. It's not disrespectful for somebody that knows, that he could bring a huge media presence and protesters. It's not disrespectful for him not to show up to a funeral, especially for somebody as important as Barbara Bush. There are a number of people that died during the Obama years, and we didn't expect Barack Obama to be at their funeral, even though he would, either the vice president or his wife or somebody would show up. Why? Because a president going to somebody's funeral can be very, very much disruptive to the process. Now, on the other side of that, like I mentioned, Melania went to represent the Trump family at the funeral, and she was, of course, as always, she was elegant, dressed nicely, and everything like that. But the big story that came out of it was the fact that she was sitting right next to Barack Obama. Of course, Barack Obama was basically the bane of Donald Trump's existence for 8 years, and probably one of the main reasons he ran for president in the first place. And it turns out that being next to President Obama, you could tell she was very relaxed, and she even had a smile on her face. She was happy. So I think it just shows you the kind of person that Barack Obama really is. He seems to be very gracious and very nice. And obviously, he's able to, make people happy even during a sad time like a funeral. And that's the one thing I always liked about Barack Obama is no matter what was going on, he tried to make Americans feel like they were safer, that they felt that they were safe, that they were okay. And I think that's one thing I liked about him most. There were some policies I didn't like, but overall, I think he was a good guy. And I think you see that at the funeral of Barbara Bush. He talked to Melania. He and Michelle were there right next to her. And they have a long, ever since they first came to visit the White House, they've always been, gracious and nice. Or ever since the Trumps came to visit the White House before Trump took office, Obama and his wife were always gracious and kind to Melania. And it shows you what kind of people they are. They're not hateful, spiteful people. And a lot of people out there seem to think they are. But at the end of the day, they do. Presidents do the best they can. They do the best they can with what they got. And I have a lot of issues with Donald Trump, and I don't like him. I don't seem to like him as a person at this point, and I don't really seem to like most of his policies, although he's done a few things here and there that I've supported. But at the end of the day, we can't just sit here. If the left wants to make any kind of attempt at taking Donald Trump out of the White House in the 2020 election, we're going to have to stop this bullshit of crying and whining and coming up with and complaining about every little detail of what Donald Trump does. We can't just sit here and complain, oh, look at that, he wore the wrong color sock. Or, oh, look at that, he didn't go to a funeral. Or, oh my God, he didn't go here, he didn't do this. These are not things that we can be dealing with. We've got to deal with the facts. We have got to attack on the issues. We've got to quit with the personal attacks on Donald Trump and focus on the damn issues. Or Donald Trump is going to be an 8-year president. He'll be there for 2 terms. And you want to know what kind of damage he could do in 8 years if we don't get on the damn issues? So if you think Donald Trump was disrespectful for not going to the funeral, that's fine. But it shouldn't be all over the damn news. Liberals shouldn't be talking about it from coast to coast. If you ask me, it was the most respectful thing he could have done was not to have gone to Barbara Bush's funeral. And we don't need to dwell on these kind of things. We need to focus on the issues. We need to focus on the things he's actually doing, not the things that he's not going to. You know, you can talk about the things he's done. You can talk about the fact that he's, playing a lot of golf. He's in the complete opposite of what he said he was going to do. You can talk about all the times he spent at Mar-a-Lago and how much money he's spending down there of the taxpayers' money. Those things are legitimate things to talk about. Those are real issues. But whether or not he went to Barbara Bush's funeral is not an issue. Anyhow, this has been the Big Rant Show. I'm your host, Jacob Keck. You have a great day, and I'll see you down the road.